If everything was wonderful all of the time, then nothing would be wonderful any of the time. It's the downtimes, it's the sorrow, it's the heartbreak and the loss and the pain and the suffering of the human condition that makes all of the wonderful times that much more meaningful. And so we try to work towards those things. Our emotions are our bodies telling us, hey, something's off here. Let's figure out what it is and let's do something different. Men, let's talk about depression today. It is apparent to me that more and more men are feeling sad, lonely, depressed, potentially even suicidal. I see it every single day when I get messages from men who are going through divorces, overcoming addiction, maybe dealing with the loss of a loved one, medical complications, or even just a continual sense of feeling inferior, inadequate, and unable to accomplish the things that they have a desire to accomplish. Now, I want to say that I am not medically licensed. I'm not a licensed therapist. I don't have any formalized training in this, but after doing this for 10 years, I have a pretty good understanding, not only anecdotally on my own, but seeing thousands and thousands of men work through these feelings of depression and even suicide. We've all seen and heard about studies that suggest that men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. And there's a real reason for the crisis that we're seeing with so many men struggling. I think ultimately at its core, it's a loss of purpose, it's a loss of meaning, it's a loss of significance, and it's also a loss of being able to know how to harness your masculinity. It's a loss of understanding how to work closely with other men who are going to help you work through some of these issues, and some real tactical things that you can do every single day to ensure that you're feeling your best so that you can operate your best for yourself, for your family, friends, colleagues, coworkers, business, community, and the people that are relying on you. So today I'm going to share with you 8 key strategies that you can employ on a daily basis to depression-proof your life. Let's get right into it. Number 1, well, actually, before I get right into it, let me say one other thing. I'm talking about bouts of depression. I'm talking about feelings of being down and sad and sorrowful and depressed. I'm not talking about clinical depression, and I'm not even talking about chronic depression. If you are chronically feeling down, chronically suicidal, then I highly encourage you to get the help that you need through medically licensed and educated individuals. That's not me. I want to put that disclaimer out there because it's very important to be able to differentiate between I'm feeling down about life's circumstances and I'm clinically depressed and there's something seriously wrong with me that needs to be addressed. So let me just say that first and foremost. Now, I will suggest that even for that clinically depressed or chronically depressed man, the 8 things that I'm going to share with you today, I think are going to be helpful. And at a minimum, try them. Try it out and see how you feel when you employ these things on a daily basis. Let's get right into it now. Number 1, know that nothing is wrong with you if you're feeling down and sorry and sad. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. We spend so much time on these little devices, our iPhones and our computers and our tablets and our iPads. And what we're doing is we're getting a glimpse into other people's lives, but all they're posting is the best things about themselves. When they look the best, it's all fabricated and manufactured and run through a bunch of filters. The pictures are staged with the correct lighting and done just right. Even the times where an influencer or a content creator, and I don't like those words, but it makes sense for this conversation, even when they're posting stuff online about the challenges that they face, they're still presenting that in a way that will resonate with the most amount of their potential audience. So even the hard stuff is manufactured. And I'm not here to tell you that I don't do that at all. Of course I do, because I want my message to resonate and help you. If I didn't care about you, then I really wouldn't care about the way that this looks or the way that I present even the hard and challenging discussions. So that's not wrong to do that. But what you really need to understand is that this is all cleverly crafted and you're just picking up snippets of what other people want you to see. And the rest of their lives, you might see 1% or 0.5% of their life. The other 99.5% of their life is, in many times, a complete train wreck. Arguing with their spouse, not making as much money as they'd like, not being able to lose the weight they want, sleeping in when they know they should work out, eating that extra bag of chips, hearing from their parents about their father's dwindling medical condition. I mean, you name it. Every single person is dealing with something. And I don't think that we need to compare, but I think we need to realize that all of us are suffering in some way. And if we acknowledge and recognize that, then I think it's easier for us to go ahead and just sit in being sad, being down, being depressed, being upset, being angry, all of these emotions that we experience every single day of our lives. But if we think, because it's all filtered through social media, that you're supposed to be happy, you're supposed to be knocking every day out of the park, you're supposed to be hyper productive every single minute of every single day, nothing's ever supposed to go wrong, you're not supposed to argue with your spouse, you're not supposed to feel insecure, you're not supposed to feel potentially abandoned, you're not supposed to be afraid. If that's the messaging that we receive and we're constantly bombarded with it, then the moment we feel one of those things, we think we're broken. We think something's wrong with us. And I'm here to tell you that most likely it's not actually something that's wrong with you. It's just the human condition to feel down. I mean, how many times in your life have you felt up, like really excited? Let's say you got a new promotion at work, or you landed a dream job or a dream client, and you're so happy. You can't believe it. You're on cloud nine about what you accomplished that day. The reason you feel that way is because you know all the bull crap that you needed to go through in order to have that kind of day. If everything was wonderful all of the time, then nothing would be wonderful any of the time. It's the downtimes, it's the sorrow, it's the heartbreak and the loss and the pain and the suffering of the human condition that makes all of the wonderful times that much more meaningful. And so we try to work towards those things. Our emotions are our bodies telling us, hey, something's off here. Let's figure out what it is and let's do something different. Or let's pursue something so we don't continue to feel this way. In other words, being depressed at times is part of life, and it's what your body is doing to compel and motivate you, if we look at it ancestrally, to stay alive and to procreate. If we look at it in modern times, it's to lead a fulfilling, happy, wonderful life of service to yourself and other people. So guys, nothing's wrong with you if you're feeling that way. Let's get to point number two. Point number two, I heard from Jocko just a couple of days ago, and he was actually referencing Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss said, in moments like these, and I'm paraphrasing, he says, you need to get out of your head and into your body. And essentially what he means by that is that when you are down and depressed, I know for me anyways, when I feel that way, I'm up here. I'm thinking about what's going wrong. I'm creating all sorts of stories that probably aren't true or realistic, that are exaggerated and they're worse than they actually are. I'm thinking about how I've been slighted. I'm compounding all these problems with other little problems that seem to add and pile on. And it's all just bouncing around in my brain, and it becomes this echo chamber of negative and destructive self-talk and sabotage. So what Tim Ferriss is referring to is that in those moments where you're feeling like that, you got to get out of your head and into your body by moving, by going to do something productive, by going to work out, by going on a walk, by getting up and cleaning the house. Like, the more you just plop your butt on the couch and just let all this stuff fester, frankly, the worse you're going to feel. And that's some of the issue that I have with modern therapy, is that you sit down and you're supposed to yap about all the things that are wrong in your life. I think a lot of the times that ends up bringing up more problems than we're actually there to begin with. Now, I'm not saying therapy is wrong. I actually have a therapist that I work with. My therapy is more action-oriented and action-driven, as opposed to sitting around pontificating about everything that's wrong with my life. It's, hey, I'm dealing with this one specific issue, maybe this insecurity or this fear, or this doubt, or this circumstance, and I'm trying to work through how I get past it. I don't want to sit in it and ponder on it. I want to address it, get to the root of the issue, and then I want to actually go do something. So when you're feeling depressed in those moments, Sometimes the best thing you can do is just get up and go for a walk. Get up and clean the house. Maybe it's read a book. That's even a great thing you can do. You're not thinking about the issues anymore. You're thinking about something else, and it's going to give you a new perspective about maybe some appreciation or gratitude for the things that you do have, as opposed to the thing that you're dwelling on now. And by the way, I'm not saying that the thing you're dwelling on is insignificant. If you lose a big client at work, that's not insignificant. If your wife comes to you and says, hey, I'm not happy in the marriage, or I want a divorce or a separation, that's not insignificant. Those are real issues. But it is important to get out of your head for a bit so you can think about it from a rational, level-headed perspective and come back and begin to address the problems. And that's point number 3. So point number 2 was get out of your head and into your body. But point number 3 is get out of your body and into your head. Now, let me explain why I'm actually saying both and they're at conflict with each other. Because sometimes in the moment, it makes sense for you to go ahead and distract yourself. And that's what getting out of your head and into your body would be. And sometimes we tend to overdo that. And we don't actually address the root problem of the issue. We just distract ourselves, right? So you're like, I'm just going to go to the gym. And you see these guys who are fit and strong and lean and healthy, and they look great, but their life is a complete train wreck. Emotionally, they're distraught and they're self-destructive. They're engaging in behaviors behind closed doors that are hurting them. So they look wonderful. And you would think if that's all you knew about them, that their life was terrific. But the reality is what's going on behind closed doors is a nightmare. It's a train wreck for them. And that's because they focus so much on the external or the distraction by going to the gym in this case, that they actually never got to the root problem of the insecurity. An insecurity that a lot of guys who are fit to deal with is body image insecurities. Maybe they grew up a little doughy around the midsection. You know, maybe they were the fat kid. Maybe they got made fun of at school. And so they use that to actually address the problem that they perceived, which was I'm fat and I don't want to be fat. And if I'm not fat, then people will like me and they won't make fun of me anymore. Well, that isn't true. And even though you might now be fit and you got the 6-pack and you got 20-inch arms and everything else, you still feel like that sad little boy that you were when you were severely overweight. So why didn't the weight or the lack thereof actually address the issue? It's because there's still insecurities there and you still feel a way about yourself. So unless you can get down to the root problem in this case about your own worth, just inherent worth as a human being, it doesn't matter how many abs you have. It doesn't matter how many plates are on that barbell when you're doing a deadlift. It doesn't matter how many fitness competitions or bodybuilding competitions you've won. It doesn't matter how many women you've slept with because they love your body. None of that matters if you feel horrible about yourself. So you have to get out of your body and into your head to start addressing the problems. Here's some ways you can do that. Number 1, therapy. We already talked about that. Getting out of your body into your head, and you're actually working through some of those things. Another one, journaling. That's one I do quite often. I'm not going to pull it out right here, but I've got my journal right here on my desk. It's in my drawer. And I journal. When I'm not feeling well or I'm feeling upset, I'll just get it out and I will write how I'm feeling. I don't have prompts or magical questions that make me feel better. I just write. I am sad today, and I'm sad because of this, and this is how I've been feeling, and this is what I think it means, and this is the story I told myself about it, and this is true about the situation, this is objectively not true. And so I just vomit my thoughts onto the paper. Not only does it get outside of my mind, which is good because I don't want it bouncing around in there, it helps me see it from a different perspective. How many times have you had this incredible idea, your next $1 million idea, and you're thinking about all of these things you can do and how you can approach it and how you're going to make millions and how you're going to serve a bunch of people, and you sleep on it and you wake up the next day and you're like, hey, hon, let me tell you about my idea. Or you call up your buddy or a friend or a colleague or whoever and you say, let me tell you about my idea. And you start talking about it and you're thinking to yourself, man, that actually sounds kind of stupid. Like that doesn't sound nearly as sexy as I thought it was last night. Right, because you now have a different perspective of it. And I like when it's written down, I can look at it objectively as if it's not even my own words. Sometimes it's the advice that I would give to somebody else that I have a hard time giving to myself. So journaling has been huge. Meditation. That's something I don't necessarily engage in, at least the way that I think a lot of people talk about it, where I sit down and clear my mind and I don't do that. It's not enjoyable to me. So I don't do that, but that is something that does help a lot of people. Another activity you could do in the same vein would be, I think, scripture study and prayer. And I think those could almost be a form of meditation themselves, more the prayer than maybe the scripture study, but you're getting out of your own head. You're tapping into a higher power. You're giving yourself a new perspective, and you're looking at life from an objective viewpoint, not yours, which is subjective. And then the other one is just self-reflection. Not enough men dig deep into how they're feeling and why they're feeling. They just feel angry. And so they either do something stupid, like punch the wall, or they bury it. And burying it works until it doesn't. And at some point, it's going to fester, and it's going to bubble up from the ground, and it's going to ooze to the top, and it's going to be toxic to yourself and other people around you. But most men have done this for years, tens of years, decades, their entire lives. Bury it, bury it, bury it. You feel angry, you're like, I'm not supposed to feel angry, so I'm not. You feel sad, I'm not sad. I'm not going to be sad, and you don't ever deal with it. You have to deal with it. In fact, there is a common misconception, and I don't believe this is entirely true, but I know people believe this, is that it's manly to not exhibit any emotion. I don't agree with that. I think if you're hiding it, you're actually fearful. What do you hide? Of course, the things you want to protect, but also the things that you're afraid of. Hey, if I put that over there, I don't need to deal with it. Out of sight, out of mind, right? It's hidden, it's tucked away. I don't need to see it. I don't need to deal with it. That's fear. That's actually weakness. I don't want to address that, so I'm going to hide it. People will say it's strength, but it's actually weak because you don't want to actually deal with what you know you need to deal with. I think it's stronger to acknowledge how you feel and address it accordingly. Now, I'm not going to go crying like a baby to every single person I see, or just like tear up every time I start feeling a certain way when I'm in public or with my kids or doing something important. There's a time and a place, but you better believe that I'm going to address my emotions so that I don't have those lapses, so that I don't have a mental or emotional breakdown when people need me the most. And that might be in the comfort of my own home or in my bedroom with the door closed and dealing with what I need to deal with. But ultimately, you got to start digging deep. Why do I feel this way? What triggered me to feel this way? What does this say about who I am? At least what do I believe about myself when I feel like this? Usually that's a negative one, but it's important to acknowledge. What stories am I making up about the situation I'm dealing with? Because you can deal in fact and reality, or you can deal in subjective data and information. So for example, maybe your wife says something to you and you don't like the way that she said it. Or maybe you say something to her, you're excited about something, and she doesn't respond the way that you want her to. Okay, so that's fact. She didn't respond the way that you wanted her to. There it is. But the story that you create is probably something different. It's probably she doesn't care about what I just told her. She doesn't love me anymore. She's not willing to sacrifice for me. She's whatever, fill in the blank. And that's what we do. And it justifies the way we feel. But what if, since you're making up a story, you decided to tell yourself, well, that's just a story. I don't actually know. But if I am going to make up a story, why don't I make one up that serves everybody? So in the example I just gave you, maybe it's that your wife just had a hard day at work or a hard day with the kids. Or maybe she just got some news from her parents about one of her sisters dealing with a divorce. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. You don't know. So instead of operating on assumptions, we're going to operate on fact. So here's something you might say. Hey, hon, I told you about that project I'm excited about. And honestly, I thought you would respond differently. You've always been excited about the things that I'm doing in the past. I can't help but wonder, is everything okay? Isn't that such a more gracious way to approach life? And you know what she'll probably say is she'll probably give you the reason. Oh yeah, hon, I'm sorry. The kids were little jerks today and just made a complete mess. And then I had, the plumber come over and it's going to cost us twice as much. And she tells you about all the problems that she's dealing with. And all of a sudden you're like, oh man, that wasn't even about me. I made it about me, but it wasn't about me. I do this. I'm notorious for this personally. I do this all the time. I even know what to do and I still do it. It just goes to show how hard it is. But self-reflect. What does this story tell about me? What's a better story I can come up with? Where did I learn this behavior or thought? Is it serving me? How do I feel when I feel this way? What does that say about myself, et cetera, et cetera? All right, let's move into point number 4. Number 4 is make a plan and actively work towards achieving something. Now, sometimes when I say make a plan, people think, oh, it's got to be this big, grand, elaborate vision for my life and starting a new business or competing in a bodybuilding show or writing that book I've always wanted to write. But look, when you're feeling down and depressed, the thought of writing a book probably isn't on your radar. It would serve you, but you're probably not there. The thought of starting a business when you're feeling like dog crap because news you just got about one of your siblings or your parents is probably not on your radar. Getting passed over for the promotion isn't going to instill a bunch of confidence in you saying, I'm going to do a bodybuilding competition. This is not how we think. I get messages quite often actually from men who are feeling down and depressed and sad about where they are in their life. And usually the answer I give is a question, which is, what's one thing that you can do, regardless of how big or small, that would make you feel better about yourself? And usually it's, I could go to the gym. I can stop eating junk food. I can go apologize to somebody. I can turn the TV off and read a book. I can go to church. I can stop drinking. It's usually things like that. Those aren't big things, but those are incredible things. Deciding not to drink tonight is an incredible thing. Deciding to turn off the filth on the TV and instead read a book is a good thing. Deciding to issue an apology to somebody because you wronged them in some way is a wonderful thing. They're not insignificant. So I had one guy just the other day reach out and he was feeling this way. And I said, what's one thing you could do? And he said, I could go to the gym. I said, yeah, you can. Why don't you do that? And he did. He went to the gym and he messaged me. He's like, hey man, I really appreciate you getting me through. It was a little tough that night. And I got up and it's been a long time, but I went to the gym. I said, how do you feel? He's like, I feel amazing. I feel like I could conquer the world. I said, great. What are you going to do now? He's like, I'm going to go back to the gym. Right. That's the answer. Just start with something. I think, and there's probably research and data to back this up. I don't know what it is, so I won't quote it, obviously, but I would suggest that it's very difficult for a man to feel sorry for himself when he's actively working towards something meaningful and fulfilling. So if losing weight and getting in shape is meaningful and fulfilling to you and you're actually at the gym working, it's going to be really difficult for you to feel sorry for yourself. I'll give you an anecdotal story on that one. Sometimes I get down, right? Like relationship isn't where I want it to be, or I'm struggling with my kids, or the business isn't growing as fast as I'd like, or maybe I got, somebody decided to cancel from the Iron Council, or I had a great guest lined up and it fell through. And so I have these things that come up. Right? So when those come up, I get out of my mind and into my body. I go to the gym. And immediately when I'm lifting, I'm feeling good. I'm not focused on whatever's going wrong. I'm focused on getting that rep in. But what's interesting is when I start feeling bad is between reps. So maybe I'm doing bench press and I crank out eight presses and I rack the weight. And then I sit up and I sit on the bench and I'm going to wait a minute or two before I do my next 8. It's in the minute or two where I still start feeling crappy about myself again. So I think that just goes to show that when you're not doing anything, that's when all the demons come in. And my mom used to say, and probably your mom or dad or grandma used to probably say this too, is idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. So in these moments, if you're just sitting around wallowing and feeling sorry for yourself, of course, that's the devil's workshop. He wants you to be mad, sad, angry, frustrated, hopeless, suicidal. He wants that. And so he loves when you're doing nothing. But if on the other hand, you have something that's meaningful and significant to you, and then you go to work creating that, even if it's seemingly small, all that other stuff goes away. It becomes less relevant. And isn't that what we want? Don't we want to generally be a happier person? Yes, I think so. So make a plan and actively work towards it. And if you don't have one, go work for somebody else. And I don't mean work, like do a job for somebody else, although that could be it. I mean, go serve somebody else. If tonight you're feeling down and depressed about where you are in life, it's okay to feel like that. We need to address that, and we will. But maybe instead of just wallowing in it for tonight, you can maybe there's a neighbor that you have, and you know that she's an 80-year-old woman and her husband passed away last week. Maybe you could go bring her dinner. Or maybe you could mow her lawn. Or maybe you could just invite yourself over if you know her, and it's appropriate, of course, to sit down with her and talk with her for an hour and just give her some companionship. When you're serving other people, you're not going to be drowning in your own problems. Anyways, that's point number 4. Number 5, surround yourself with friends and family. Guys, again, idle hands are the devil's workshop, but I also believe isolation is the devil's workshop. He wants you alone. Do you want to know why the devil wants you alone? Because you're weaker when you're alone. You're more easily distractible. You're more easily tempted. You're more suggestible to certain behaviors and vices and temptations. You feel sorry for yourself. Like, you have to be around other people. This is difficult when you're feeling down because you don't want to be around other people. At least I don't. When I'm upset about something, the last thing I want to do is be around other people and have to like pretend to smile and care and laugh and be happy about something I'm clearly not happy about right now. But you know what? Sometimes you just have to force yourself to do it. And you don't need to be Mr. Jovial. You don't need to be the life of the party. You don't need to entertain. Maybe you call a buddy up and you're like, hey man, I'm down. Can we go, I don't know, go to dinner tonight, or go get a drink if we need to together. I'll talk about that here in a minute. I don't suggest that one, but I think you guys get the point. Or go to the game, or go hit the range, or whatever your thing is, go do that. But force yourself to go do it. And if you don't have a friend, a lot of people say, I don't have anybody I can call. There's people everywhere. Guys, go to the park. Get your dog, if you have one, and go to the park and walk the dog. Guess who you're going to be around? People. Go to the game. Go to a restaurant. Some guys will say, I just feel bad because everybody's with people and I'm not. So make friends. Go jump on your community center website in your local town and see what's going on. Like this weekend is Peach Days in where I live in Hurricane, southern Utah. And so we have Peach Days. Well, they've got all sorts of festivities. They've got a parade, and they've got bounce houses for the kids, and they've got different booths you can visit and different food trucks, and it's a big celebration. There's things like that where you are. Jump on Facebook and type in whatever you like. Maybe you like to hike. Well, there's probably a hiking group on Facebook in your local area. There's also probably a local area page. I belong to a couple of Facebook pages, or groups, I should say, that are focused on local activities and local news and information. Well, that's a great place to be, because then I can start connecting with people who are interested in the same things I am. So it does take some effort and work, but for you to say, I don't know anybody, I don't think you're lying. That's probably true. But I also think you're just making an excuse not to go out and meet anybody. The opportunities are there. And guess what? Everybody feels like you do. I don't know anybody. I wish I knew more people. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people in your area saying the same things, and nobody's meeting with each other. So take some initiative and go out and force yourself to be in those environments. You can always come back later and feel sorry for yourself. But for now, get out and go be around friends, family, and make new friends as well. Which leads into the next point, which is point number 6, is get some new hobbies. So maybe you want to paint, or you want to learn to take pictures, or you want to learn martial arts, or you want to learn how to shoot, or you want to learn how to, build websites or sew. or produce documentaries. I don't know, like anything. Pick something. Learn how to ride horses. Learn how to groom dogs. I mean, there's an infinite number of things that you could potentially do. And I promise, at least I think I'm willing to put money on it, that there's something in your mind you're like, I should do that. Or, I've always been interested in trying that. Maybe I should try it. The answer is yes, you should try it. Because that's what reinvigorates the soul. Like, one for me is hunting. I love to hunt. I take my bow out in the backyard. I bought this tripod because I shoot from a tripod on one of my hunts later in the year. So I decided I'm going to get a tripod. I don't want any excuses to why I don't shoot the deer I want this year. To be determined, I'll let you know. And it's not a guarantee, but I'm stacking the odds in my favor. That's exciting to me. I can go up there. I can sit up there in my tripod and I can shoot 20 arrows, 50 arrows, 100 arrows, and I could just be having the time of my life. And other people are like, that sounds miserable. Or when I go to jujitsu, just go train, meet some guys, connect with the guys, and others are like, that doesn't sound fun. I don't care what you think sounds fun. This is for me. And it invigorates me. It makes me excited. It builds up my enthusiasm. It keeps life interesting and fun and lets me have access to new people. It's hard to feel sorry when, again, you're doing something that you really love. Woodworking. I actually enjoy organization. I know that sounds a little sick to a lot of people, but I like organizing. So this weekend, didn't really have a whole lot of plans, which was kind of nice. But I spent probably 10 hours in my garage / Order a Man merchandise store and organized it. Recategorized everything, did inventory, made labels, cleared some room out, moved some things around to give us more working space. It was actually pretty enjoyable. Turned some music on that I like and just got after it. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. I was in the moment. So get some new hobbies. Let's go to number 7, and then we'll go to the last one, number 8, and then we'll wrap up for today. Number 7, do not sedate or distract yourself. And I'll say with the caveat of distraction in an unhealthy way, because I did tell you earlier, get out of your mind and into your body. Sometimes it requires that, but so it's okay to do that in a healthy way, but not long term. You have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it to just alleviate some temporary pain and suffering I'm dealing with, or is it to run away from my problems? But you're not going to sedate yourself with drugs or alcohol or gambling or distract yourself with women. That's one a lot of guys will do. Like they'll be out of a relationship and they don't want to be alone, so they'll immediately just start finding women to spend time with. And there's nothing wrong with finding women to spend time with if you're a single man. But again, if your motive is, I don't want to be alone, or I don't want to feel this pain about losing my past relationship, that's where it's an issue. If it's, I want to find a good companion for life and I want to go out there and put myself out and see who's out there and who's interested in me as well, I think that's perfectly acceptable. So you have to question your motive. The reason that you can't distract yourself, and I used to do this a lot with alcohol, man, I was drinking a ton because I was running away from something. I didn't want to feel the way that I was feeling. I wanted to shut stuff off that was hard for me, that was stressful for me to deal with. I just wanted to shut it off, and it felt really, really good. But I never learned how to cope with and deal with the distractions and the challenges and the stress of life in a very healthy way. And so I did the only thing that I could, which is to sedate with alcohol. And then I'm an obsessive personality. So the way I do anything is exactly what I did with alcohol. When I get into a relationship, I dive all in. When I get into a business, I dive all in. When I decide that I have a fitness goal, I dive all the way in. And when I decide I want to have a drink, I dive all the way in. And in that last example, that's a problem. And it created a lot of problems for me. And it never allowed, you feel good. That's the catch. You go have that drink or you go have that hit or whatever your thing is, and you feel great, but you never actually deal with the problem. And the issue with that is you keep engaging in the same behavior. So now the problem was here, and you sedated yourself over days, months, years, decades even. And your problem never went away. And in fact, what happened is it ended up incrementally growing because you never dealt with it. So it became this huge, huge monster. And then you kept drinking more and more and more and more as this thing got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And when everything blows up in your life and you decide, I can't do that anymore, you wake up and realize there's a terrifying monster of my own insecurities and inadequacies here. And I don't know how to deal with them. And so you're tempted to go back into the distraction and the sedation method. But if you can learn as a man, and I'm learning this too, none of these things I'm an expert at, I will say that. But as a man, when you can deal with things when they're manageable, that's when you want to deal with them. If you've got a stack of paperwork on your desk and it's, up to your eyeballs, it's 2 feet high, that's going to be a lot harder to deal with than 2 bits of paperwork that you need to file today. Stay on top of everything. And when issues and challenges come up, we need to address those things like men and not run and hide from them, but confront them, work through them, battle against them, solve the problems, address the needs, and let's stop running away from those things. And then number 8, guys, last one here, and I do not want to oversimplify or blow smoke up your butt about this, but you have to simply make a choice not to be down. And I know you're probably thinking, if you're in this way right now, you're thinking, well, Ryan, that's easy for you to say when you're feeling good. I'm not always feeling good. Today's been a good day. Yesterday was kind of a crappy day. Nothing overly negative happened, but it was just like one of those days. But I made the decision today that I'm going to get up and I'm going to work and I'm going to be productive and I'm going to be helpful and I'm going to reach out to people I love and care about. I'm going to serve the others that I need to serve. And I'm just going to consciously make a choice not only to be happy, and happy is not really a choice I choose to make on a daily basis, but productive is one that works for me. So pick your poison, whatever works best for you. For me, hey, if I choose to be productive, then I know that I'll be happy. I know that I'll feel good about myself. So I've got this to-do list right here in my battle planner that I'm cranking through. And I'm about halfway through my weekly to-do list on Wednesday right now. I'm actually probably a little bit further. So I'm on track. So I make the decision to be productive. And I also make the decision to do all of these other things. Because look, this requires effort. And when you're feeling down, the last thing you want to do is exert effort. So what are the men who are strong and convicted and have willpower and discipline? What are they doing differently than the guys who are lazy and weak and procrastinate? They're just making a choice. I'm going to choose not to drink. I'm going to choose to be around good people. I'm going to choose to serve others. I'm going to choose to engage in meaningful pursuits. I'm going to choose to pursue that hobby that I've been thinking about forever. I'm going to choose to go to the gym. I'm going to choose to help somebody else. I think I already said that one. That's important. I said it twice. But it's a conscious choice as a human being, a sentient, amazing human being that has this supercomputer of gray matter inside of your skull that you get to decide, hey, I'm going to be better today because I want to, because I'm consciously making the choice. And I'm going to engage in these other 7 things because I've decided that that's going to serve me and other people. I will leave you by saying, I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to be in a really bad position. I've had a really horrible couple of years. That's not to compare with everybody else, but I have. And life is never going to be free of it. And I know that. That doesn't worry me. It just means that I have to create a plan as a man to confront and deal with it. And I'll say this as we wrap things up. Not only are these 8 key items that I gave you today prescriptive, they're also preventative. So when things go really wrong, it's easy for a lot of guys to say, oh man, I got to wake up and do something different with my life. And then we do it. And then lo and behold, we see a better result in our life. Things improve because we engaged in new behaviors that were healthy and positive. And then we improve. And as we improve, we start forgetting about the little things that got us to the place of improvement. And we stop doing those things. And we start isolating ourselves. And we start sedating ourselves. And we forget all of the things that made us successful. And then we find ourselves down and depressed and anxious and frustrated. And then we fix it. And it's this accordion, like ebbs and flows of life. Like, I'm going to do good work, produces good results. I'm going to stop doing the good work, and now it produces bad results. Because I have bad results, I'm going to do better work, and it produces good results. It's a horrible, horrible cycle. So this is not only prescriptive, this is preventative. These things are things that we should be doing on a daily basis, every single day. And I know I said, just gave you 8. And you're like, 8 things on a daily basis? These are all integrated into your life. For example, number 7 was do not sedate or distract yourself. Not only does that not add anything to your plate, it actually makes you way more effective with the time that you have. I remember when I stopped drinking, I was drinking hard for like 2 years and then really hard for about 5 months. When I stopped drinking, one of the first real benefits I noticed was, well, 2 things. Number 1, my energy level. And number 2, the amount of time I had on my hands. Because I spent about 24/7 either drunk, hungover, or passed out. So when I was no longer doing that, I was recapturing literally 4 to 5 hours in a working day. And it was amazing to me how much more productive I got. So yeah, I'm giving you 8 things here, but that one alone is just worth it just because of the time and energy that you'll have when you stop engaging in distraction methods. So I know that it seems like a lot, but I can assure you, you can integrate all of these things into your life in a healthy way that not only do not add to your plate, they actually will help you with a bigger plate. All right, guys, I hope that serves you. I hope that helps. If you have other ideas, this is a crucial topic. So if you have other ideas, please share those with me, share those with the members of Order of Man, share those in the Facebook group. And two places I really want you to go right now. Number 1, I want you to jump over into our Facebook group. 73-ish thousand people over there, men, all working together on different issues. We don't always see eye to eye, and there's some real contention going on in there at times, but we're all working together on improving ourselves and helping other people. So that's at facebook.com/groups/Order of Man. And the second place I want you to go is if you really want an elevated experience about what I'm talking about here, and you want to be around a good core group of men who you can talk with, communicate with, hold accountable, be held accountable to, and work closely with throughout your life, and getting you through some of the issues and getting you to the next level, then you need to join the Iron Council. This is our brotherhood. We've been going for about 9 years. In fact, I think I don't want to overstate here, but the Iron Council was probably one of the, if not the very first exclusive men's brotherhoods, digital brotherhoods, I should say. And there's a reason why not only are we the first, or about the first, that we're also one of the most successful. We've been doing it for a long time, and we know what it takes to build a solid group of men. We're going to open up in about 2 weeks. So I need you to go to orderofman.com/Iron Council, watch a very quick video, drop your email in, and then on September 15th, I'm going to send you an email personally and tell you we're open for enrollment, invite you into the brotherhood, and answer any questions that you may have. So those are your marching orders, Facebook and orderofman.com/Iron Council. Guys, we will be back next week for an interview. Until then, go out there, take action, depression-proof your life, and become the man you are meant to be.